Now, yesterday's episode, we were talking about pirate bases, and of course, the comment came up, well, what about the mobile pirate base, the Kraken, right? The Kraken is a tough one to talk about because there are some of the finer mechanics that we don't know and that we don't understand that could profoundly affect a Kraken owner and how it's played, at least from a pirate point of view. But I think that they are things that we can still at this point discuss because these are once again the unknowns, the things that are going to determine very strongly what the value of that ship is and what the impact it could have on the owner of a Kraken. So let's get started. First off, what is the Kraken? Some people say, oh, it's the light scout carrier, it's the escort carrier, it's the mini carrier, it's the pocket carrier. No, it's a logistical solution to a problem that has been presented to players since the very beginning, even before we had a PU, before we even had, what was it, Arena Commander. This is something that has been kind of in evidence for a long time, and a lot of players have been requesting a ship like this almost since the very beginning. Now, initially, a lot of players kind of looked to the Idris to kind of fill that role, but the Idris's limitations were readily apparent, and a lot of players were looking for something a little bit more robust in terms of carrying ships and cargo, and perhaps they were willing to sacrifice in terms of military strength. And the Kraken kind of represents the ideal version of that compromise. It's a great ship. Don't get me wrong. I think that the Kraken is a fantastic ship and it's a great design. I love it. But it does present certain issues, and there are certain limitations that we don't understand yet. There are things, CIG said it in an interview once, one of their developers, we don't know what we don't know. With the Kraken, it's more a case of we do know what we don't know, but we still don't have the answers yet, and chances are those answers aren't going to be forthcoming for a while. Let me give you an example. Let's say you operate a pirate fleet and you're operating off of, player X's Kraken, right? So you now have this logistical base out, let's say, at Microtech. This is something that's, hanging out in the asteroid field out by, Microtech. And you attack an NPC convoy in that area. The Kraken is not directly involved in the battle. The Kraken isn't even in the immediate area. The Kraken is off somewhere else, just a little ways away where no one can really directly see it. So you go, you attack the NPC convoy, the NPC cargo ship, whatever. You take the cargo, everything, and you bring it over to the Kraken. You drop that cargo off on the Kraken. Now that ship has just basically, for all intents and purposes, disappeared, the ship that you attacked. All that cargo that you have now put on the Kraken, does that really make the Kraken guilty of a crime, right? What does the Kraken have to do to remove the criminal nature of that cargo? I mean, do they have to put it into like a smuggling area? Do they have to kind of go through some whole rigmarole to process that loot so that it looks generic and it's no longer identified with a ship that went missing? That sort of thing. That's one of the we know what the problem is, but we don't know what the answer is going to be. We have gotten some kind of vague ideas, but something that actually works in the Star Citizen universe that we're going to be playing, we don't know what that is. Now you may be thinking, well, why wouldn't you just take the Kraken in? Why wouldn't, I mean, the Kraken's got reasonable weaponry against a capital ship. CIG's clearly said that it's probably not going to go all that well, but against, a commercial vessel or something like that, chances are it's going to fare a lot better. Probably not dominantly so, but it's probably going to be a very strong ship in that regard, right? Why wouldn't you just take it in and directly engage the enemy? why wouldn't you do that? And this kind of relates to what you're seeing on screen right now. Like, you'll notice that I don't know why I use the GTA scale, but I do. I've got 4 out of 5, crime stat rating. I've got 4 stars right now. I mean, the FBI is after me, or no, wait, what is it? It's the SWAT teams are after me right now, but the FBI isn't after me if we're playing GTA Online. So we got it kind of easy right now. And one other thing is that when you go to 5-star crime stat rating, the game starts generating bounty missions to get you. So whenever you pass, I guess, within range of the communications or observation satellites around Crusader, the game will generate a mission, says, go kill this person. Here's where they are. We've seen these wanted missions before. We've discussed them. Now, if you're in a Kraken and all of a sudden the game starts creating wanted missions for you, there may be some players out there in capital ships and hammerheads and stuff like that who are like, oh my god, a big juicy pirate caterpillar, what's that going to be worth? Let's go get him. Let's get it. And you're going to be sitting there thinking, yikes, maybe this crime stat rating wasn't such a good idea. Now, you might be one of those nicer players or one of those nicer pirates that says, yeah, for the most part, you know what, we're going to strictly stick to attacking NPCs. We're not going to try to mess up any players' days. We just want to have fun and play Space Pirate, but, we don't want to trample on anybody else, so we're just going to attack NPCs. Well, in this scenario, if you earn that 5-star crime stat rating, even if you're attacking NPCs, you're drawing unwarranted or unneeded attention onto your pirate ship and onto your main logistical base of your pirate fleet. You have to remember that you're kind of like this logistical linchpin. I mean, that's why I'm kind of zooming up this image on the screen right now, not just putting it off to the side, is you are the cornerstone of that pirate raiding group, right? You're the place they go for repairs, refuel, rest and relaxation. You're a drop-off point for all their ill-begotten goods, all that stuff. This is, where they go for that thing. I find it kind of interesting that they never put a herald in this image, by the way, but I digress. And as that core facility, you may be able to show up after the fact, but chances are you probably don't want to be there when the act is being committed, because we don't know where that line of separation occurs. Like, if you're in a fleet with a group of ships and one of your ships attacks an NPC, are you automatically granted crime stat rating? Does the game recognize it to that limitation? That's one small area of it. But are you going to be considered a pirate, and then our mission's going to start being generated with your name on them, saying, go kill this person, and here's the place where they were last seen? Because that could be a little bit inconvenient, especially when you consider the fact that you are now this core part of the fleet. You are this very necessary part of the fleet. And while you're wanting to go out there and pirate things, you're more worried about protecting your ship all the time, because now you've got this crime stat rating. You've got all the goods, you've got all the fuel, you've got all the ammo, you've got everything on you, including possibly some logged off players and their ships, technically, on your ship. Are you willing to risk all of that for that direct involvement when you don't know where the line is? That kind of makes you a criminal, makes you gain crime stat, and makes you a target for mercenaries, bounty hunters, whatnot. You have to think about it in a way kind of like you're the Halsey, you're the Spruance, you're the Fletcher of your fleet. You're there to help your forces project power. You're not there to get directly involved, right? If you think about it, say, from a Midway context or a Battle of the Coral Sea, you're there to provide the capability to project power into an area where you may not have a sufficient base to project power from. You're that mobile base. But part of your responsibilities is going to be kind of like knowing how to keep that mobile base alive and how to keep it unencumbered. So you're going to have to be very keen on keeping up to date on what can prevent you from gaining crime stat, what can prevent you from becoming a target yourself. And it's sort of the same problem of building a base on an asteroid or building a base on a planet, especially for a pirate, except that for the base that you build on an asteroid or a planet, you're more or less in a fixed position. And as soon as someone's found you, they found you, that's it, the game is up. Whereas with a Kraken, you can move around, you're much more flexible. You may not be able to harbor the extensive facilities that a ground base can afford you, but you do have mobility, which is probably going to be your greatest defense. It's that same problem of carriers in World War II. Where do you have a base? Where do you have to project power? Sometimes those two things don't align, and so that's where a ship like this comes in. The problem for the person commanding the ship, of course, is going to be making sure that you're removed enough from the action to either be associated with the act or to become vulnerable to counterattack. Because when someone says, "Hey, it's here," then obviously there is going to be a rush to go out and try and get a Kraken kill. You might draw a lot of unwanted attention, so you're gonna have to be very careful about how you employ something like this. And part of that is going to be looking at ways to avoid crime stats so it can allow you the freedom of movement to be where you need to be when you need to be there without undue encumbrance, without having to run into too many difficulties when you're trying to achieve your goals. That's why the Kraken comes off as such a great ship and such a strong idea in the Star Citizen universe, is because it allows you to project power, and because it's mobile, it's not fixed. I mean, some people have said, "Oh, well, what if one of the facilities we can build on the Kraken is a drug lab?" And I think I've even talked about that before. But upon consideration, that kind of puts the crime on your decks. That kind of associates you with the crime. So that might be something that you might want to consider, something that you may want to worry about a little bit, Whereas having just a fixed throwaway drug lab to do that sort of thing might be, depending on how expensive it is, the way to go. But I think that overall, as a pirate base, the Kraken does make a lot more sense, but I think that it's going to require certainly a lot more care and a lot more nuanced gameplay than perhaps, the trailer implied.
The time has come for something new. Something to change the game. When seeking fortunes at the fringes of civilization, you need someone you can trust. In this age of uncertainty, it's time to take back your strength. It's time to release the Kraken. Drake Interplanetary. We got your back.
Now, of course, I mean, in the end, there's a lot of speculation in regards to what the Kraken's life might be like. I'm certainly one of the people who does that. But I think that with the Kraken, because it's an extension of a system that we already have certain aspects of these ships in game. I mean, certainly not the docking and the landing on a mobile platform, but the cargo running, the basic operation of a ship and all these things, the Kraken is an extension of that. And so I think that when it comes to something like the Kraken, we can ask much more informed questions, and I think we can form closer opinions to what the reality is going to be. Base building and all that, a lot of that is still up in the air. A lot of that is TBD and probably a long way off, whereas something like the Kraken arguably could be a lot closer. Which makes a good jumping off point for the next video. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.